do is we get writers together to write fiction stories, and we build community around these stories. We connect them directly to fans. So we felt that a lot of what we've seen, not only in the industry, is that writers don't necessarily have time to write, or they feel like they have writer's block where they're not in a certain space to be able to like get out these creative ideas. We've also seen that a lot of writers didn't feel like they understood the industry right, because the industry is very much top down, and you have to have a finished product, you have to have an agent, you have to have so many different elements to be able to quote unquote make it out there. And Syllable really at the root is providing a space for writers to collaborate. We're saying that writing is better when two minds are working on one piece. Writing is better when three minds, four minds, five minds are working on one thing, because it's not only faster, it's the content is not only richer, you not only have much more fun doing it as well, but most importantly, you're able to do it. You're able to learn and grow and gain the confidence to be able to kind of put your content out there. And our goal is we wanted to bring this space in ways that can provide wealth and opportunities for writers, creating production teams that are working on different stories and story universes, and pumping out new content in a very serial way. I underwent the process. I put myself in a one book, 1 week process, and we did a book in a week. And the book is going to come out in a couple of weeks. It's called The Wall. It was me and two other writers, and we connected all online, and we ideated the story, we created the characters, and rewrote the narrative. And it's a small novella. And with this launch of this book, which will be our first major launch, we want to keep the bonds and the experiences that we've built to write together. And how can we do this in a way that we allow the broader audience to be able to subscribe to us and our production team if they want to read more of the continuation of that story. So it's really a model to provide sustainability for writing, and allow writers to do what they do best, is to tell incredible stories. Absolutely. I think for me I think it's always been in my core, just trying to create something that provides value and it brings more impact to the world, because I feel like sometimes I feel very helpless in ways that, how do I fundamentally like create something that can bring more value to people? And for me, that conversation was, how do I align my personal passion for creativity and storytelling, and how do I align my needs professionally as well, and also how do I have an impact? Because I feel storytelling is at the root of so many of the issues that we face today in the world. And if we can create more conscious and creative content and empowering people to tell these new and exciting stories, whether it's horror, sci-fi, romance, or comedy, I think I can have a stab at making that change that I want to see, because I've been changed by novels, I've been changed by stories I've heard from friends and families, I've been changed by movies. I've been changed. I think storytelling is at the root of so much of who we are as human beings. But a lot of this personal journey is really because I'm an immigrant. I think me immigrating to the U.S. from Haiti has definitely played a big role for that. Absolutely, I think trying to take a stab at the American dream and whatever that manifests itself. I think entrepreneurship, building something where you not only are standing on your own 2 feet and you're creating change in a very momentous way, I think that's really, really, really powerful for me. And we're also undergoing the fourth industrial revolution. Like, everything is changing in the world right now, whether you look at AI, blockchain, you look at industries are shifting, international institutions are collapsing, climate change. I think this is an opportunity right now where I felt like with my skills and my passion and the people that I've met and the issues, something that's very deep and personal for me as a writer. Me writing my novel now, it's taken about over 3 years to do. Writing short stories and sending these short stories to magazines and getting rejected, or writing a lot of poetry and also getting rejected hundreds of times. So I think the key for me is how could I make a space where I don't have to depend on others, like on the broader system, to give myself validation. And I feel like everyone is a storyteller. Everyone has a book in them. Everyone has these stories to tell. Everyone thinks creatively, has the imaginative ways of thinking. Whether you're sitting in the living room with friends or you're out for dinner, people tell stories every day. And I think through fiction and showing people that they can too be writers and tell incredible stories and helping them, whether it's providing coaching, educational resources, or the actual process to be able to build out these stories and allowing them to make money from this, I think that's invaluable. I think that's the dream, and being able to kind of slowly work towards that, and we're an incredibly passionate group of people. I think I couldn't ask for anything else. I think I can start with writing. I think for me as a writer, it took me a while to claim myself as a writer, because I think a lot of writing people are looking at you and saying like, do you have anything published? And it's kind of like the industry is looking for some sort of validation. It's like, okay, you don't have a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, you're not a Nobel Prize in literature, or you're not published in these really cool, hip, countercultural, awesome journals and magazines that people are looking into, or you're not a writer in Hollywood, you don't write for a cool TV show. Like, I don't have any of those things. But I think the journey for me as a writer is, when I first came to the US, I wrote a lot in my journal. Like, I wrote and wrote and wrote a lot. I think it allowed me to process a lot of the things I was dealing with. And secondly, I also worked at a library for 5 years as well. So I'm a librarian, part of me maybe. But I worked at a library there, and I think for me, working in a library allowed me to kind of travel different worlds and different spaces where I wouldn't otherwise would have found in the classroom, or with friends. Or I think writing for me is something very personal, but it's almost making that space where the personal is almost, it's kind of transferring the personal to the universal. Because it's like, if I understand myself and I know why I'm here, I know that my writing needs to be seen by a lot of people. I know there's a lot of stories to be told. I think there was the person that wrote Songs of Solomon. I forgot. Can't believe I'm
something Morrison. Right?
Yes, Toni Morrison. Yes, Toni Morrison. She said, like, if you see something, like, if you don't see the stories that you don't like, or if you see something that you don't like and you think you can write better, then write that book that you want to write. And I think I took that to the grain of salt. It's like, I just kept writing, and it wasn't really until I went back to Haiti after having gone through and living in this country. I went back for 6 months through with the Pan American Center in New York, and I lived in Port-au-Prince for 6 years. I worked with Haitian writers and Haitian poets and younger kids as well in the community deep in the mountains. So it was like really a dream come true. Like, the universe kind of manifested this for me, and I think that's where I started to kind of claim my identity as a writer, because I almost felt kind of like not only ashamed, but not ashamed. I feel like it's the whole journey, the hero's journey of, like, how do we live our life and root our identity outside the opinions of other people. And I think for me, writing was at the root of this, and saying that not only writing is personal, but also writing is a responsibility for me. Like, finding this creative, primordial, imaginative force inside of me that connects all human beings on the planet, and really trying to wrestle with stories and ideas, and being led by inspiration, being led by rationalism, being led by history, knowledge, all of these different parts of me kind of falling in through this writing, I think makes for me the final frontier where the human being and the human condition can be transformed if they receive that aspect. And I think if you have the intentions, the right intentions, a great story, you don't have to be a great writer to write a great story. And for me, I felt that in my life. And a lot of the pain points I felt writing, I was like, okay, how do I create a space? Because I felt I understood the writing, and I figure there's a lot of people that want to write, or maybe they've written on their phones. They find an interesting idea, they write on their phones, and then they keep it away, or maybe they write poetry, or they write a lot of things, but they never kind of claim. I'm like, I want to tell these people, is like, you can not only have fun doing this, you can actually make a career out of this, and you can actually make money, and you can actually make a difference. I think writing and creativity is at the root of, I feel, the human condition, and creating space for that is invaluable for me and not only for the world. I personally feel kind of looking at the new model of consciousness in this planet as we're changing. So I think the first thing is that there are about hundreds of thousands of things that you have to do when you start a business, and these hundreds of thousands of things, you can create them, and they might not necessarily be the most important and viable thing to do, but there's always something to do. And I think trying to find and discern the most critical, important things that's going to yield the most returns, not only with time and processes, I think that's the key. I think there is a lot of knowledge and wisdom out in the world, but I also feel that you don't have to recreate the wheel. I think there's a lot of people that have done this. There's a lot of wisdom, but for me, the biggest challenge has been trying to discern what is the most important thing to do. Is it marketing? Is it kind of getting the word out there about Syllble and our platform? Is it testing the product? Getting to understand why the customers, the users, the community want something like this, or how are they engaging a collaborative process and building this community? Is it trying to find funding? Or is it trying to network out in DC and meeting interesting people? I think there's so many things that you have to do, but at the end of the day, when I realized that the most important thing that matters is at the end of the day is the customers, is the users, is the writers, is the people. I think this business is a very relationship driven business. I personally feel entrepreneurship is a relationship based business. I guess for me, it's my gift. It's connecting with people, trying to understand who they are and why they live in this world, and trying to connect with them and providing something that of value to them. And I think that's where it's important. I think that kind of leads into the question of like understanding your gifts and your strengths is extremely important in entrepreneurship, because you can't do it all. I think we've having the cult personalities of like the single founder, the genius founder. I think that's what we're trying to deconstruct, especially not only with writing, but also the way that we handle business. Because I feel like everyone has a genius inside of them. Everyone has something to contribute. Everyone has a way of being and showing up in the world. And I think creating space for these people to kind of bring their strengths together and understanding what they can bring and how you align their visions, their talent, their passion into meeting quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four goals, and that's going to advance the business forward and providing the most value to the customers and the users and building that community. I think that's the most important thing. But again, someone else might tell me something else is the most important, and someone else might tell me something else is more important. I think it's just kind of discerning these things, and discernment looks in a way in time management. How do you manage your time? Because like every day I might have 40 things to do, but I have to pick the one or two things that is going to be the most like crucial thing. Kind of the 20/80 rule principle. And I think that's important. And I think I can never learn enough on how to do that. I think people have mastered that. Other people have based things on, because I think the point of a startup right now is you're trying to test out different models, different processes, build a user base, until you find a viable business model where you can scale. Right now, we're not at the point of where we're able to scale. I think we are using a framework, and we're trying to build a community of writers in DC, trying to be the number one book publisher in DC, and we set ourselves a very lofty goal of publishing 10,000 books in 3 years collaboratively. And I think having these goals kind of brings us to reality, having these horizontal goals and saying like, okay, this is what we're gonna kind of do in this niche market as DC, focusing on writing, focusing on people who aspire to be creative writers, fiction writers. And I think that's important. I think focus is one of the most important things. And I think secondly, the second thing after focus is execution. I think execution is the most, like, I think, yeah, execution is key. Because if you're not moving, if you're thinking a lot and you're just like trying to do a lot of research, you're trying to do a lot of things and you're just saturated in your mind and you're moving, you're going, like, nothing's gonna get done. You just gotta do it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's perfect, it doesn't matter if it's bad. Like, you can't have that that self-doubt. It's gonna be there. The self-doubt is gonna be there, because if you don't have self-doubt, you're not human, you're a robot. Like, you have to understand that self-doubt and what that means in the context of the execution I have to do. But the only thing that you need to know is you gotta keep the ship moving forward, because this journey is a marathon, and every step matters, and you gotta have that long-term view for sure. And I think the third thing for me is so the first one was focus and clarity and gaining more focus around the community, around the people in this community who are going to use the product. Second is executing the goals that you set yourself, and with the team, and kind of getting that data and using that data to further execute the goals and connecting with people and things and such. And then thirdly, I think the team is extremely important. I think the people that you surround yourself with, the founding team, the people that are working with you, are very, very, very important as well, because I think the energy people bring, the creativity people bring, the negativity people bring, the people bring all sorts of things, and some things can jive, some things cannot jive, and you gotta understand that. And it's not like something, it's not personal. And I know it sucks to even say that, because I'm all about like emotional intelligence, having these conversations, trying to understand how people work, and inspiring a shared vision around that, empowering the heart. But the team and the people that are on that bus or that ship is extremely crucial. And you have to bring on people that fit certain needs that you're not able to do. Because I'm not perfect. I don't have all the knowledge of the ideas. I might have the drive, I might have the vision, and I might have all these other gifts, but I know I'm imperfect, and I know that I don't have a lot of skills like that, like, for example, coding, or for example, marketing, or for example, like finances and accounting. Like, how the heck am I supposed to do like accounting stuff? I think it's just being honest with yourself and saying like, you need help. Like, this is not, the entrepreneurship journey is not one you do alone, and shouldn't be alone. I think a lot of entrepreneurs goes through highs and lows, and I think that it's definitely part of the process. But I think it doesn't have to be alone. I think you have to find the right team, and finding the right team is, I think, is a secret sauce, and bringing something great to this world, and kind of latching on to these cosmic changes that are happening in our economy right now, and just provide value, because all these shifts that's happening around the world is because it's hurting people. It's like these changes, this idea of the fourth industrial revolution, it's happening is because the current model doesn't work. Like, it's not providing, it's not providing like opportunities, access. It's not well-being, like the planet, how our planet is endured so much of the brunt of human or human ways. Yeah, I think the fourth industrial revolution is a direct, like it's a direct cause and effect with a system, a model of a system that is a, major parts of it are have not worked for a while, and I think it's changing, and I think we need more people that have diverse thoughts and experiences to be these drivers of change. And I think stories is at the root of that, and I want to empower people to write and build a great team, build a great company that can. It sounds very cliche, but like make a dent. So absolutely, I think for me, I have a lot of energy. I'm very overzealous, and I'm just gonna keep moving and kind of keep going at stuff. But I'm gonna move and I'm gonna go. But I think the direction is I think key, and I think street entrepreneurs have been able to kind of bring things down to earth on a grounded level, and kind of teach me and allow me to think more clearly as to what is the important things to do. What should I focus this at this stage right now, and then connecting me with like-minded individuals and entrepreneurs that can not only provide feedback and mentorship, but also give me the confidence as well to be able to take the necessary decisions that needs to be made. Because these things are crucial at this point. It's like, I think it was Paul Graham that said like starting a startup is like moving chaos, because you're doing so many different split decisions. It's just growing. There's so much going on. And I think student entrepreneurs and the workshop have been through, I think I've been through about 6 workshops now. And they've been very, very, very influential in kind of grounding me to think more clearly and going after what I want, and also listening more to the community that I'm building as well. I think it's providing me a lot of skills and processes.